Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kyrus Has Friends, the show where I sit down with the people that matter to me the most, and those people are my friends. Before we get started, if you're interested in anything that you're watching today, please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Vibe with Kai. You can also follow me on Snapchat and on TikTok at Kyrus Keenan. And if you like all of that stuff, you can also follow me on my website, thevibewithkai.com, where you can get your blogs and videos that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. But enough about me and my shenanigans. I'm sitting here with Black Excellence over here. I'm sitting here with a wonderful, wonderful, talented friend in my life, the wonderful performer extraordinaire, Mr. Shan Williams II. What's up,
Hey,
man?
hey, what's going on? What's going
How
on?
what's going? How are you doing? How
I'm doing
quarantine life? How are you?
quarantine life really is bittersweet. Um I have been spending a lot of my time reading and doing a lot of more exercise and
Yeah.
artwork, as you can see behind me.
Oh, you did that?
Um yeah, I painted all these.
No
So
way. Oh,
yeah,
that's so cool.
hey, you see Usher right there. But
Hey,
yeah.
yeah, man.
But no, I've been spending a lot of time doing like some self-reflection. But it also
Yeah.
sucks because I purchased a new car and I cannot I'm having trouble getting it registered because the DMV just opened and the lines are out the wazoo, so you need to sleep over in order to get there. But
Sleep
other than
over.
that,
Oh man.
there are people that are there like 2 a.m. waiting in line. So um, I will
Holy
try again
cow.
this week. But other than that, that's been okay. I mean, I do
Yeah.
kind of feel like I'm in high school, having to get rides and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
but other than that, it's been pretty cool.
Right.
My job is pretty close by, so I don't have to
That's
worry about
nice.
that.
Mhm.
And other than that, everything else has been pretty good. I mean, we've been dealing with a lot of stuff
Has there
in the
has there been
world.
stuff going on in the news? What are you talking about? Is something go on? I don't know what you mean. What could you
You
possibly
didn't
mean?
know? You didn't know?
I
You
you
know,
know what? I missed the meeting. Was something discussed at the meeting?
yeah, we had a discussion. It was this thing, I think it's called Black Lives Matter.
What?
I think coronavirus, also COVID-19. So a lot of things have been shut
You're
down,
you're you're
especially for
throwing you're
us.
throwing a lot at me right now. I'm gonna have to ask you to slow down.
I'm sorry, I'll break it down
But no,
even
we're
more.
we're definitely we're definitely going to get into that in a second. But one of the one of the
Right.
one of the things I did want to ask you. Obviously, you are a performer. You
Hmm.
sing, dance, act, all of that. In fact,
Right.
that's how we met.
Right.
Um, do you miss it?
Absolutely. What's funny is I hadn't done really a show, like a new show for me, since June of 2019.
Hmm.
I had finished doing the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee with Maurer Productions at
Yeah,
Kelsey Theater, and then I basically took a break,
yeah.
not only because I had started a new job, and I also had added on two other jobs to
Hmm.
the new job that I had. And it was just becoming very overwhelming. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that I started doing theater at 25 and I didn't stop. So I consistently was doing at least 6 to 7 shows per
I
year
I
for
know that
5 years.
feeling.
Yeah, for like 4 years straight.
Yeah,
And I basically went through like a burnout, but I
yeah.
also got a job that just wouldn't allow me to do shows on the weekends. I was working at McCarter Theater
Hmm.
and I couldn't, my weekends were all booked up because of the new job. So I didn't return to theater. But once the season was over, I mean, once the McCarter's their season was over, I was going to return to theater for the summer.
Right.
uh, Unfortunately, we had the situation with COVID-19, so all
Yeah.
theater has basically been shut down.
Right.
But I definitely miss theater. I miss performing. I mean, there's nothing like performing on the stage and getting a live reaction from the audience,
Hmm.
making sure making people happy and having them see all the work that you put in,
Yeah.
put out on the stage, and just being proud of yourself for
Yeah.
for those moments. So I definitely miss the theater. I mean, we
Right.
have our own little separate issues with the theater right now, but
Another thing I wanted to talk about for sure. Yes,
yeah.
for
So
sure.
we have our own issues with the theater.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, at the end all be all, like, it's like I'm absolutely love performing, miss performing, and can't wait to start again.
No, well, let's get right to that. You know,
Hmm.
since we brought it up, obviously right now there is uh, the issue, which for some people this is new, but for most of us, like this has been shit that we've been talking about and dealing with our entire lives when it comes to
Absolutely.
specifically in this case community theater, where
Hmm.
you would think that a community that is as liberal and as accepting as it is, you would think that when we say we want equal representation on stage, you would think that it would just be a no-brainer, right? Um, but that's not something that people really thought about at all. So now we're at a point where we have the Black Lives Matter movement, which has obviously, for good reason, taken off, throughout the world. And that started the conversation of Black theater, where people like you and I will tend to only get called when they need a Black person. Hey, we need a Mitch, or I'm not saying that the Mowers did this,
Hmm.
but I'm just saying in
No, no,
general because I've gotten
not at
calls
all.
for stuff all the time.
Absolutely.
But like,
Absolutely.
we need a Mitch, we need a Richie, we need a Seaweed, we need a Cole House, and you look around a lot of the boards on these production companies, it's very white, um, and it's not often that you see Black performers, male or female, in roles that are normally played by white men and white women. So I wanted to get your thoughts because this is a conversation that has been needed to be had for quite some time, and I'm happy that it's happening now. But now we're asking theaters to take action and to actually put something in place to fix this issue.
Right.
So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how this has all played out over the last couple of months?
Well, the way that it's played out for the last couple of months has definitely not surprised me, because I definitely saw that the same rhetoric that they're spouting now is the same thing that they were spouting when I first joined, community theater in spring of 2015. I am definitely not shocked, and honestly, the people who reacted negatively to these moments and the African American experience to community theater. Um, the people who reacted negatively, I knew that they were going to react negatively. The
Mm-hmm.
people who I knew were going to be supportive, I knew they were going to be supportive. The people who I knew that were going to be complicit and stay silent
Mm-hmm.
definitely were
They
the
have
people
been.
that I knew that were going to be silent. I remember when I was doing a show, and this is early 2016, and this is actually in regard to the production of In the Heights that you directed. So
Mm-hmm.
all the way back in January, or even whenever it was revealed what the next season was going to be
Mm-hmm.
for 2016, 2017, um, I had a director, producer come to me, and he made the comment that, you know, they're directing, Kyrus is directing In the Heights in next season. And he kind of like scoffed and
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, like who's gonna show up for that? He and in front of me, and I was just like, wow. He said, um, who's gonna show up for that? They don't show up for auditions. He's they, as if I wasn't a person that tried to show up here. So when I spoke out about it, because number one, I wasn't at that point in time, I wasn't considered a theater person. So
Mm-hmm.
like I was far removed from it. It had only been my third show. So I said, well, they don't show up. I said, so what's the reasoning behind that? And he's like, well, you know, and he made reference to this person made reference to you do it the production of The Wiz years before, and that, you know, there was trouble with casting and all this stuff like that. And I explained, I said, well, what opportunities do they have afterwards? So like that's my main, what opportunities do they have before and afterwards? Because number one, are you only contacting them because they're black, and you need black people in this show because the show calls for a black person to be in the show? And are you contacting them like when you do a production of Anything Goes? Are you contacting them when you're doing a production of, you know, South Pacific? Are you contacting them when you're doing a production of, you know,
are you
Pippin,
contacting them when you need, when not just when you need them, but just in general? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, and that's what made me really frustrated. So I remember meeting you at, it was either Willy Wonka or Bonnie and Clyde. I don't remember which one. But I met you for the first time. This was before auditions. And I told you, I said, hi, my name is Sean. I'm definitely going to audition for In the Heights that comes in. And I specifically told you, and I remember these words, I said, we have to stick together. And I said, we have to stick together because, and I didn't even know you from a can of paint. I was just like, whatever, I need to say this to him because, you know, it's only, from what I've seen, it's only a few people, I can count on two hands how many black people are working that I can see that have worked with Kelsey, that I've seen in shows in this past year that I've been here. And, I said that because I was like, I said, this needs to stick. And this was no slight to, like, you know, the white performers or anything like that. But, you know, we're not being well represented at this point in time. And I don't think that, you know, there are some people that are like intentional in that, because there's some people that have just been raised in this society just to be okay. And they're just okay with it because it's the status quo. But you still need to address, we still need to address the issue at hand.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate for me, and I definitely see that, you know, walking into an audition and, you know, you killed the audition and you did really well, but someone doesn't see you as the character because traditionally the person is white. And you have to understand, and, you know, our mothers, regardless of where you grew up or when you grew up, if you are a black person in America, 9 times out of 10, your mom or your father is going to tell you, you got to make sure that you are 110% in this society in order to get at least some credit in regard to whatever you want to do in life. So I have to be 150% better than the white gentleman who's in the show, because he can be 70% of whatever I am and still get the role. And that's basically how things go. Or they use like those special words like, I'm looking for an all-American. I'm looking for, you know, traditional person, you know, traditionally handsome, conventionally handsome, and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, I was born with, like, you know, I mean, if we want to break down just like the black community, I am a lighter skinned black person, but I have black features. So again, to, you know, European standards, I have a wide nose and big lips and everything like that. So I'm not going to be as widely accepted to them, which I don't give a fuck. But you know, it's just a situation that happens, and unfortunately, people don't see that because they've just been reared in this society, and they keep it going, keep it going. And I'm just like, whatever. I mean, and it bothers me because there are some companies that I will never work with again because, you know, you definitely aren't in support of me. And even if you like me as a solitary individual, you don't like my people, or you got an issue with whatever is going on.
Yeah, it's, you know, what I tell people is that, like, this is something that as a director, I've struggled with. And I can't even sit here and deny the role that I played in this, because I remember The Wiz when I directed it at the Kelsey Theater. Looking, like, in the moment, that was the first musical I had ever directed, right? And I was just happy with the fact that the Pennington Players gave me a musical. I was like, oh shit, I get to do a musical, and like I'm excited. And what's funny is that my ignorance didn't make blackness a priority, because and looking back at it, it's because like I'm not putting the blame. I can't put the blame on other people, but like it was also not a big deal, like to the production company, right? Like it
Right.
wasn't like I wanted to make sure I had a black Dorothy. I got Sasha. I wanted to make sure
Hmm.
that there was a like spurts of blackness throughout, you know. But it
Right.
wasn't. My ignorance was like, oh, I got a couple black people in here. It's fine, right?
Right.
Um, and I look back at it now, and I'm just like, what? Because I rewatched it. This was because I directed the Wiz again.
Right. Which
You
I
know, and
saw.
we had a
Yeah.
completely black cast because I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you, I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. Right? We had a
Exactly.
completely black cast.
Exactly.
But when I was doing my prep for that show, I'm like, you know what? Let me go back and rewatch I guess this was like 2009, I guess it was, or whatever it was that I at that point I did the Wiz and at Kelsey, and I got about halfway through Act One, and I'm like, I can't watch this. I can't
Right.
do it. I can't do it. You know, and I was like, I was just embarrassed. I was
Right.
embarrassed, and so I that's why I always tell people, I know what position that I'm in, right, and the influence that I have, and I know I have to play my part too. You
Right.
know, which is one of the reasons. Like, I loved our cast of In the Heights. We definitely had a little bit of everything there, you know,
Yeah. Definitely.
and it's funny that, you know, because there were a lot of detractors, even from the board perspective. They were like, you're not going to be, number one, you're not going to be able to cast this show. Number two, who's going to come see it, right? And I had to convince them. I know, and and I know why you're laughing too, because I'm about to
Yeah.
tell them why. I'm about to tell them why you're laughing in a second. But like, you know, I had to convince them not only that I'd be able to cast the show, but that people would actually come to see it, right? So we cast the show. I love this. The In the Heights cast is probably one of the most talented casts I've ever seen in my life, right?
Hmm.
And we sold that bitch out so much so that we had to add 2 performances to that thing. I think was it two? I think we added
It was
2.
one. It was
Was
one.
it
It
one?
was one.
We added.
We couldn't add it to it was so short notice that we
Right.
had to add it to the second weekend.
Right. We added, I
But
think,
yeah, it sold out
a
fast.
Saturday eve or Saturday
The setting
afternoon or something
matinee.
like that.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
was the night that was the performance that I ran the lights.
And during that finale, during the Act One finale, the lights just didn't shut off.
I was on point with 99.9% of that entire show that day. But the one time that I needed a blackout, I was like, ah!
And the irony is, the name of the song is Blackout.
I'm up in the booth freaking out,
Yes,
and
we saw you.
Judy
We're
Parrish
looking.
was there.
Yeah, we were looking. So we're sitting down and we're like looking up because the lights normally go off, and we normally look at who's running the light board, and we're just like, and all we see is you like this.
I'm pretty sure because I think Judy Parrish was at that performance, and she does lights at Kelsey. So I'm pretty sure that she, like, everybody knew something was wrong. So like she came up and she was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I think Danny Tucci was just like, "All right, let's go."
She said her literal words were like a 5, 6, 7, 8, and go. And she stepped off the stage. That's basically.
And I remember I came backstage during intermission, and I was like, "I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry."
Because first of all, that matinee was a clusterfuck of like craziness. What happened at the end of I think it was 96,000. Someone like kicked over the salon like set piece or whatever. The chair, it was a box that was on the chair, a moving box, and the whole box just came crashing down. So not only so everyone helped to try and put that box together, but we rushed because Abuela was going to sing her song, and we had to do like a quick change into like those like 40s outfits, and we were scrambling during that point in time. So that performance was so much fun.
Oh man,
so much fun.
that was.
I absolutely appreciate that performance. I was like, it was so funny to kind of laugh in the face of you know, the people who were like in denial that this was going to do anything and that this
Mhm.
wasn't going to be like
Mhm. And there were a
a
lot
great
of them.
production.
There were a lot of
Yeah,
people that were like, no, the
yeah,
people aren't going to come see it.
I love it. I
Mhm.
love it. It's absolutely amazing, and
Yeah.
it's nice to. I mean, my goal is never to prove people wrong and be like, "Yes, I was
Mhm.
right."
Right, right.
But that one was fun, and I
Mhm.
would say for another personal experience, there was a music director that said that I couldn't sing. So I
Mhm.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love hearing that too. Like, thanks, thank you very much. I
Oh my
appreciate it.
God. But you know, it's funny because like we have those kind of moments, and to the point that you were making earlier, we have shows like In the Heights that happen, and we're like, yes, we got it, nice diverse cast. We got a little bit
Right.
of everything, right, right, right. And then it goes right back to what it was, which
Hmm.
was incredibly white,
Yep.
and um, and like that's just upsetting, you know.
Hmm.
So like, what do you feel theaters, I guess, can or should do to handle this? Because I feel like some theaters are just waiting for this to blow over because they're expecting that. Like, I mean, number one, we don't even know if theaters is even going to happen, like when it's going to come back, right?
Right.
So let
Right.
alone representation on stage. So let's just say a miracle cure comes out, everybody's
Hmm.
fine, no more COVID, theaters are allowed to open back up. Yay. So let's just
Right.
say that happens. What do you think theaters should be doing to fix the situation, I guess understand where we're coming from with our, I guess, gripes? You know, like what do you think theaters should be doing?
Well, number one, they need to change the environment. I feel like there it gives it a lot of um, vocabulary um, is used and it's not comfortable for other people. And that's just not black people. It's not solely black people. That's other people of color included. You know, we do all these shows, and you know, back in the day, that was okay. Like, you know, just break it down. Let's think of
Right.
anybody does a production of Peter Pan, right?
Mhm.
And then you have
Right.
the Native Americans that come out. And
Mhm.
then you put all these white people in like these Native American wigs and Native
Mhm.
American garb, and they're like, "Well, this is the show. That's what the show is." And you know, it's the vocabulary, and it's just being aware
Yeah.
of what you're doing and making sure that people are comfortable
Mhm.
in the space that they're in. Um, Honestly, it's not even a situation where I'm like, you just need to make your whole season black, because I feel like people would be just trying to appease us with
Right. Right.
that. But I feel like you need to make sure that you are casting your shows based off of the talent that you have and not based off of, you know, traditionally this person played this role.
Right.
And also having an open forum and discussion, you know, annually, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever, just about society and cultural society. And I am all about the classics and all that stuff like that, but you also need to make your audience socially aware of
Yes.
these things that are happening. Like, you need to include the audience on this, because that's basically what some of these theater companies base their whole lives on. And the reason why they're not making statements is because, you know, well, we don't want to offend our patrons or whatever. Well, fuck your patrons, because if that's the type of people that your patrons are, then I don't want those people in this theater.
Right.
That's the point.
Why would I be doing a song and a dance for them? You
Right.
know,
It's like,
like I mean that's what at that point it's kind of like that, just the slave mentality at that point. Like honestly, it's like,
right,
oh yes, I'll sing and dance for you, sir.
exactly.
You
So
know,
I
and like
just
that's not why I do this.
exactly. So and that's usually the mentality that I um think that needs to happen. But again, I will repeat that, you know, you need to include black people in the before and the after.
Yes.
So when you do, you need to include us in the shows, and not just ensemble members. Okay, I'm not just going to be your ensemble toy,
Right.
and make sure that you guys are, you know, fulfill your diversity quota by
Mhm.
putting me in your ensemble when I have more talent than
You have a
that.
lot to
That's
offer.
not,
Sure.
yeah, and that's not me saying, that
Mhm.
ensemble is bad or anything like
Mhm.
that, because
No, I
I've
hear what you're saying.
enjoyed my times in the ensemble.
Mhm.
And, but it's also, if I've done the work and I have the, talent to do whatever role you're casting, then cast me in the role.
Mhm.
Um, I just think that it's really disappointing that, there are some people that, just, it's very frustrating that people don't understand that, and they just think that we're just complaining, and that this is just all a complaint, and that we don't we're not complaining about anything. We just want to complain, and
Right.
I just
Well,
I
here's what they don't realize is that
right.
when theater comes back, I don't know about you, but like I have no problem calling these places out now. Like when
Absolutely.
theater comes back, I don't think they realize that a lot of us are going to be like, no, no, I'm good.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So
And
when they decide to do their production of Aida,
right.
and then it's
Right.
like, I'm like, what have you done? I don't want to be a flavor of the week. I'm not going to be doing Aida because it's Black History Month. No, it's not how
Right.
this works anymore. Sorry.
Right. And I
You
equate
know?
I equate that to, like, just even normal relationships.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to be a fair weather friend. Nobody
Yes.
wants to be someone who is like, oh, I you want to hang out with me when it's convenient for you.
Right.
So why would I, especially, like, and let's be all the way honest. Like, if you're doing community theater, you're spending money, you're not getting money.
Yes.
So you're spending money
Yes.
on gas, on food, going
Wait, you don't
out,
do
and all
community theater for the cash? You don't? You don't? Oh man.
Yeah, I don't. But it's definitely it's that type of situation. So what makes you think that you'll be able to do that? I'll give you another example. I
Hmm.
actually, years ago, I quit a show, and I quit a show. The show was opening in, like, I'll say the show was opening in, like, July, the end of July, August,
Hmm.
and I quit the show in April.
Hmm.
They literally, the people there were like, as if they were like paying me all this money to do this show. I quit the show after 3 rehearsals, and the reason being is because I just thought that, they gave me the runaround with the audition, and
Okay.
then cast me in the show. So someone gave me the opportunity, told me that another theater is doing this great production of this show,
Hmm.
and at the time I hadn't even had, like, a real, like, role. Like, I had, like, a featured role in a
Sure.
previous show, but I had been, like, ensemble in a lot of
Hmm.
shows, and I was just like, well, I think I got some chops, so let me see if I can do this show.
Right.
And I auditioned for the show. I got in the show, and then I had to reveal to the company that I couldn't do the show. They played it cool, like they were very happy
Hmm.
for me or whatever.
Sure.
Which, regardless of fact, you be cordial. You can be cordial.
Hmm.
Behind the scenes, the production company tried to make sure that I never worked in this specific theater ever again, which never happened because I got cast in another show 6 months later. But, like, they made efforts to do that. Like I was paid, like they were paying me money
Yeah.
for this and that they owed me, and I'm just like,
And it
what are
wasn't
you
like
talking
it
about?
wasn't like it was like at Tech Week or anything like that. You said this was early in
No,
the rehearsal
no, this
process.
was
Yeah.
3 months before the show even opened. 3 months before the show even opened, and I took the brunt of it because, number one, two other men left before I did. But
Show me my
regardless of
contract and then we'll talk. You know what
exactly,
I'm saying? Like,
exactly. So, like, when people do this type of stuff, like, they think that I, like, owed them or something like that. I don't owe you anything,
mhm.
and I will not work with these companies again, or work with companies that are not in support of that. I
Mhm.
mean, I had a person who reared me in the right direction, and in regard to uh, backstage stuff. Like, I was on the tech team for one of the shows years ago, and she was, like, very instrumental in helping me out and learning the ways of, like, behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And come to find out, like, she is like saying that Black Lives Matter is BS, and that,
Oh, no, no,
we are
no, no, no.
complaining and all of that and stuff like that, and that,
No, 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 no.
she said, and if we don't play, if Black lives don't matter to Black people, so we should not be worried
That's
about that.
probably my biggest one. I hate
Right.
when people say, "You guys are saying Black Lives Matter. What about black on black crime? What about it?
Exactly. What
Completely
about white on
different
white?
topic of
I was like,
conversation."
exactly. That's the biggest like cop out conversation. Like, that's the biggest cop out excuse to end the conversation on Black Lives Matter.
It's a straw man. It's a straw man's argument.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like it has nothing to do with what we're saying.
Nope, not at all. Or, we get into the situation where they say, what are you talking about? Black Lives Matter. And so that means that you just hate white people and all this stuff like that. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. I usually equate it to a relationship or like a marriage. And how like your spouse is saying, like, you left your clothes out all on the ground, all over, and it's really getting on my nerves. Like, can you put them in the hamper? It's really not that hard. And then the person still leaves their stuff on there, and now it turns into an argument where this person is really the spouse is really angry with the other spouse, and then the other spouse's response is, "So you want a divorce?" Like, that's what I equate that to. That's what I equate it to. It's like, that's not the correct response. What I'm telling you is that I cannot love this country the way you want me to love this country if this country does not love me the way that I would like for this country to love me.
Right.
And that's what and then you get the response of people who their parents were immigrants. These people are by race, they're white, but they did not live here in the 1800s, 1700s during slavery, the times of slavery. And they're like, well, my family is Italian, or my family is Irish, and we pulled ourselves by our bootstraps, and we came into society, and we were discriminated against as well. And it's like, you were not discriminated to the level that we were discriminated. And I also take into the account that once you leave this generation, once your generation, the first generation comes in here, the second generation, 9 times out of 10, will assimilate within society. So no one will know who is who. Right. Like, so you don't understand that. I can't do that. I can't change my skin white.
And even with all of that being said, it's still not the point.
Exactly.
It's not the point. At no point are any of us saying only Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
Like we get we get it. Like we're not saying like Native Americans have gone through stuff, women have gone through stuff, like the LGBTQ community, immigrants. We're not saying that those other lives don't matter. What we're saying is right now, I can't go outside for a jog without fearing for my life.
Exactly.
When I go out for a jog every day, I have to be cognizant on how I present myself. I live in a very white neighborhood. I live in Haddon Heights, New Jersey. I'm not joking. I am one of, I've been here, I've lived here since March. I've seen, no lie, 5 Black people in total.
Oh, wow.
Like legit. When I go out for a jog in this white neighborhood, and like people are out for walks and they're walking their dog and stuff like that, when I'm running, I have to be cognizant on how I'm presenting myself, because the last thing I need is for Susie Q to be afraid of me as I'm running up on her, right? But I'm just out for a jog, but she doesn't know that. So like, even if she's like the nicest, most non-racist person in the world, there's still that thought in my head and a thought in her head. Like, I know this guy isn't going to do anything, but he might,
Right.
And,
exactly.
And like that's what we're talking about. The fact that like if me and you go out and hang out at a bar, and there's 2 white guys that go out, hang out in the bar, and then we're in the parking lot talking, and those 2 white guys are in the parking lot talking. Like, if a cop comes through, the first people that they're going to talk to is us.
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about. That's what's happening right now.
and that's the problem that they have, and it's just like, well, like I'm friends with you, so what makes the difference? I was like, no, this is that's an isolated situation. What do you think? What did you think of me before you met me?
Right.
Like, what do you think of me when you didn't know me at all? Like the
Right.
example I always give is that I worked at a retail place and helped this lady for years. I helped
Hmm.
this lady for years, and I think I saw her like while I was still working at that place outside of the facility, and I was walking somewhere, and like she clutched her purse
Hmm.
as if like I was going to take something from
Yeah.
her, and I was like, I said, really? Oh, okay. So this is how life is, and that bothers me to the point where it's like you like me on a condition basis, like where it's like
Hmm.
I I'm a good boy, so
Right.
I'm not one of them, and
Right.
people always mistake that, where I'm like, no, listen, you don't understand. I am a pretty calm person. That's just who I am generally, and in
Hmm.
most cases, I'm pretty calm, but don't let me get to that level where I am angry, or where that I have to like assert myself in that situation, because it's a situation where you're going to stereotype me with all other people that
Hmm.
are that you interact with, and then you're going to classify me in that same group. But don't get under the don't have that mentality that you think that you know me, or that I am whatever. Like, they come up to you and they're like, oh, well, you're not like one of them, or you know I had somebody, because as Black people we learn how to code switch, so
Hmm.
like we know like how to talk in certain ways or whatever,
Yep.
and it's not us being fake, it's a
Hmm.
matter of survival.
Yes.
So when people say that, and they're like, well, I think that you're one of the whitest Black guys I've ever met, and I'm just like, I hope you don't fuck, I hope you know. He's like, you're wrong, but okay, don't ever say that to me again, and we won't
Hmm.
speak. So
Hmm.
I said, that's not a compliment or anything like that,
Right.
as if Blackness is some sort of negative thing or something like
Exactly.
that. Like,
Exactly.
but I definitely don't understand. I understand that it's a crazy situation that I've been dealing with, especially with people that I've just known for years, and now I really know them. You know, is disheartening, but also I appreciate these moments, because who knows, had this not happened, had this situation not happened, I'd be running around with these people thinking that
Yeah.
everything is all good when it's not.
It's not. It's not. Hmm. Yeah.
It's a problem, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Dude, I'm so happy we got to like to sit and talk today and just like
Yeah.
chat, man, because it's been a minute, my friend. It's been a minute.
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've been gone. I've been hiding out. I've been working, well, I work three jobs. So
yeah.
I'm a preschool teacher, and
Hmm.
then I also was working at McCarter, and then gymnastics coaching and stuff like that. So I have not been around
You're
here.
just a little Renaissance man.
Yeah, so what's funny is I did it as a kid,
Yeah.
and got back into adulthood.
Yeah.
But I've always been able to do like tricks and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
from my own insecurities and stuff like
Yeah.
that, have held back when it came to that type of stuff, because
Sure.
I didn't want to be deemed a show off. So so I never like show all the things that I do. But now it's
Yeah.
just like, it's whatever. Like it is what I do, and if you have a problem with it, so what?
Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah.
Man, you are just you've always been a kind soul, and I'm glad that like we continue to this day to support each other and to
Yeah.
watch each other grow. And man, just know I always have your back, my friend, and
Thank you.
uh, I,
Likewise.
I'm looking forward to the day that we can share that stage, man. And I'm
Ow!
yeah.
That has not happened yet.
I know. I think the closest we've came is like is Danny's recitals.
Yeah, yeah, which is the Hamilton
Yeah,
compilation, and
yeah.
Motown
Motown, that's right.
performance. Yeah,
I think, but
yeah.
that's the closest we've come. So I mean, I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to the day that we get to share that stage, my friend, and
All right.
I'm wishing you nothing but good vibes, positive energy. God bless, my friend. Like legit.
Thank you.
I get your hustle on. I'm hustling with you, my friend.
Exactly. All right. Until we see each other again.
Yes,
All right?
absolutely. Everybody else, if you enjoyed what you were watching right here, once again, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Vibe with Kai. You can also follow me on Snapchat and on TikTok at Kyrus Keenan. Visit my website, thevibewithkai.com, for more details about how you can do good, feel good, be good, live a good life with good vibes. My friend, thank you so much for sitting with me again. Everybody else, I love y'all. Good vibes. We did it.